Capitol riot, millions of Trump supporters, including folks who peacefully attended the president's rally and never went anywhere near the Capitol, are being vilified by the left and on the airwaves as members of a cult that need to be deprogrammed.
As someone who's studied brainwashing and mind control, the good news is that even though people can be radicalized, they can also be helped to come back to themselves. The bottom line is all of America needs deprogramming because we've all been negatively influenced by Donald Trump.
Let's debate with tonight's panel. Democratic strategist Kevin Walling, the MAGA doctrine author Charlie Kirk, and Florida GOP Vice Chairman Christian Ziegler. Welcome back to all of you.
Hey, Shannon, good evening.
Appreciate it.
All right, Charlie, I'm going to start with you. You wrote the book about MAGA doctrine. Apparently, you're going to have to be one of the first to be deprogrammed.
Yeah, I guess. Tomorrow, Joe Biden's going to become president of the United States. I campaigned against him. I did a lot to try to see President Trump win. But tomorrow, it's going to be on Joe Biden to now step up as a leader and end this nonsense. End the nonsense of a lot of these people on the left that are calling for deprogramming, asking the question in the Atlantic, so what do we do with all these Trump supporters? He's going to be a president of all Americans, including the 75 million Americans that voted for President Trump. Decent, hardworking Americans that were far from anything that happened at the Capitol on January the 6th, that condemn it, just like myself, as we did, as we were far, far away from any of that. And yet, somehow the media narrative right now is that every single person that supported President Trump is now needing of some form of punishment or reprogramming. It's divisive. It's the opposite of unity. And I'm calling for now President-elect, soon-to-be President Biden, to step up as a leader and represent the whole country.
And Kevin, he has said that the theme of his speech tomorrow will be unity, about trying to heal the country and come together. But what about this point that Charlie makes, that everyone's being lumped in with the bad actors on the right side of the field here, where, you know, we all tried to be very careful last summer not to lump in people who were marching with a message of peace and social justice with the people who were burning stuff down?
Yeah, Shannon, I think it's fundamentally wrong when we paint people with a broad brush. You know, as Charlie said, 74 Americans voted for Donald Trump as president. 81 million Americans voted for Joe Biden. Joe Biden ran on uniting this country, going back to the primary, saying that he wanted to restore the soul of America. And that's why he won that primary. And that's why I think he was successful in the general election, because the American people are fundamentally looking for that kind of leadership with COVID, with our economic crisis, and to move past some of this partisan bickering. So I think Joe Biden will take that charge seriously, as he has said before, that he will be the president of all Americans, and we should all fundamentally throw out any kind of language like deprogramming. It's not helpful.
Mm-hmm. I want to read you guys a little bit of breaking news and get some reaction. This is just coming in from Reuters news agency, and we're trying to run this down with the White House as well. Getting a little bit of reporting on pardons tonight. They're saying that President Trump is granting clemency to rappers Lil Wayne and Kodak Black, and to the former Democratic mayor of Detroit, Kwame Kilpatrick. There are some other big names out there being floated. We're trying to run that down before we go any further, but that is according to Reuters tonight. Christian, what do you make of this? I mean, a lot of presidents, they all do it on their way out the door. They grant pardons and clemency, and this president has done it earlier in his presidency too. There's going to be a lot of dissecting of the names and who he chooses to put on this list.
Well, yes. I mean, look, the president obviously has a right to pardon whoever he wants to pardon. That's in the Constitution. That's a right reserved for the president. I think what's interesting here is you're seeing the president pardon a lot of people that, you know, people question, you know, where's the support? I mean, you have Democrats that are being pardoned. You have people of all different colors that are being pardoned. And once again, this is the president that is working for all Americans, and I think he's showing it with the pardons as well.
So what we're told as we wait to get some more names, and if we have them, we'll throw them out to you if we can confirm. I'm looking at a piece in the Washington Post. This is by former GOP Senator Jeff Flake, who has gotten a lot of heat for being very establishment and opposing the president at many turns. This piece in the Washington Post, he says, what the Biden era will feel like 6 months in. He says, the world, wary still at the bizarrely unrecognizable and unreliable United States of the previous 4 years, has begun to breathe just a touch more easily. The stolid daily rhythms of the new presidency have been established, and governing has assumed the assured and reassuring calm and dignity befitting the world's indispensable nation. Charlie, 6 months in.
Well, I just think that Senator Jeff Flake is acting as if he knows what Joe Biden is going to do as president. Is it going to be the Joe Biden that campaigned as a moderate, but slipped at times when he said he was going to abolish all oil and gas in our country? Or is it going to be Vice President Harris, who's going to put in a much more radical agenda? As a grassroots conservative supporter of President Donald Trump, I want America to succeed. I want to see Joe Biden move to the middle. I hope that all of this prediction of him wanting to govern the whole country and unifying everyone, I hope that comes true. I'm incredibly skeptical of that for good reason. But I, as a Trump supporter, hope for the betterment of our country that he actually does even an inch of what he says he's going to do, because the country needs it.
Kevin, there's a lot on the list of what they're going to do in the first few days. We're hearing about sweeping immigration reform and all kinds of other things, but a lot of this is going to require, not the executive orders, but a lot of this is going to require congressional action. Joe Manchin has said he's not going to go along with some of the most, I guess, extreme positions, whether you're talking about getting rid of the filibuster, packing the Supreme Court, those kinds of things. What does Joe Biden actually have at his fingertips when it comes to congressional votes?
Yeah, Shannon, it's a great question. I mean, it's a really delicate dance that we're going to see in a 50-50 Senate split. You saw leaders McConnell and Schumer working out plans for the Senate over the next 2 years in terms of some kind of power sharing agreement with that split. And of course, the smallest House majority for any incoming president of the same party that we've seen. So I think Joe Biden is the perfect man for this moment, to meet this moment. He knows that any kind of enduring legislation, he was part of the U.S. Senate for 30 years, needs to have bipartisan support. We saw when the ACA passed with no Republican votes in the House, the amount of energy spent trying to repeal that law because it did not have bipartisan support. So I'm hopeful that the Vice President, now President-elect, future President Joe Biden, who campaigned on unity, will govern with that same mentality.
We'll hear the message tomorrow and watch the actions to follow. Gentlemen, thank you all for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shannon.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mike Pompeo accuses China of genocide, and Joe Biden is about to reinstate transgender athletes' access to sports. The lightning round is next.